He never held a crown, never commanded armies, yet every dictator and politician has his book on their nightstand. One man's controversial manual became the blueprint for power and changed the world forever. In 1513, a disgraced Italian diplomat wrote 16 chapters that would terrify kings, inspire tyrants, and shape modern politics. Niccolò Machiavelli's The Prince didn't just describe power, it revealed its darkest secrets. Today, we'll uncover how this banned book became the hidden curriculum of world leaders, and why understanding Machiavelli is crucial to understanding the rulers who control our world. The fall that created a masterpiece. Picture Florence, 1512. Niccolò Machiavelli, once a powerful government official, finds himself stripped of position, tortured, and exiled to his country estate. Most men would have wallowed in defeat. Machiavelli did something revolutionary. He studied it. For 14 years, he had served the Florentine Republic, witnessing firsthand how power operated. He had negotiated with popes, observed French kings, and watched Italian city-states rise and fall like waves. Now, with nothing but time and bitter experience, he began writing. The Prince wasn't born from theory. It was forged in the fire of political reality, but here's where Machiavelli's genius becomes controversial. Traditional political thought taught that rulers should be virtuous, moral, and just. Machiavelli looked at this advice, then looked at actual history, and came to a shocking conclusion. Good guys finish last. The central problem he identified was brutal but undeniable. Moral rulers get crushed by immoral ones. Kind leaders get betrayed. Honest politicians get outmaneuvered. The very virtues that make someone a good person often make them a terrible ruler. So Machiavelli asked the forbidden question: what if we stopped pretending and started preparing future leaders for the world as it actually is? The lions and foxes philosophy. Machiavelli's most famous insight came through animal metaphors. A ruler, he argued, must be both a lion and a fox. The lion has strength to frighten wolves, the obvious threats. But the fox has cunning to recognize traps, the hidden dangers that destroy kingdoms. Look at how this plays out in modern politics. Winston Churchill embodied the lion during World War II, standing firm against Nazi aggression. But he was also the fox, using deception operations like Operation Mincemeat to mislead enemies about D-Day locations. Franklin Roosevelt promised Americans he wouldn't enter foreign wars, then systematically maneuvered the country toward joining World War II because he understood the greater threat. Classic Machiavellian fox behavior. Sometimes you lie to save lives. The fear versus love dilemma. Perhaps Machiavelli's most misquoted principle involves his statement about fear and love. He didn't say rulers should be cruel. He said they should be feared rather than loved if they had to choose between them. His reasoning was coldly practical. Love depends on the people's gratitude, which is unreliable. Fear depends on the ruler's power, which they control. But the key insight people miss is that Machiavelli preferred rulers who were both loved and feared, what he called being respected. Consider modern examples. Steve Jobs was famously demanding, even harsh, with employees. Yet Apple workers remained intensely loyal because they respected his vision and standards. He achieved the Machiavellian ideal, feared enough to maintain discipline, loved enough to inspire greatness. The appearance versus reality doctrine. Here's where Machiavelli gets truly controversial. He argued that appearing virtuous was more important than being virtuous. A ruler could be privately ruthless as long as they maintained a public image of justice and mercy. This wasn't cynical advice. It was survival strategy. Machiavelli had watched Cesare Borgia, the illegitimate son of Pope Alexander VI, conquer territories through calculated brutality while maintaining popular support through strategic generosity. Modern politicians intuitively understand this principle. They carefully craft public personas while making tough, sometimes harsh decisions behind closed doors. The successful ones master what Machiavelli called the art of simulation, not outright deception, but strategic presentation of their best qualities. The Borgia lesson, when Machiavelli met his match. The pivotal moment in Machiavelli's understanding came through his encounters with Cesare Borgia. In 1502, Machiavelli was sent as Florence's representative to observe this rising power. What he witnessed changed his entire worldview. Borgia had inherited territories through his father's papal influence, but faced a crucial test. When Pope Alexander VI died, would Borgia's empire survive? Machiavelli watched as Borgia systematically eliminated potential rivals, secured key fortresses, and built alliances that transcended his father's influence. But then Borgia made a fatal error. When Pope Julius II, his enemy, was elected, Borgia trusted him. This single miscalculation destroyed everything. Machiavelli learned the ultimate lesson. Even perfect Machiavellian tactics fail if you make one crucial mistake, and built alliances that transcended his father's influence. But then Borgia made a fatal error. When Pope Julius II, his enemy, was elected, Borgia trusted him. This single miscalculation destroyed everything. Machiavelli learned the ultimate lesson. Even perfect Machiavellian tactics fail if you make one crucial mistake. This observation became Chapter 7 of The Prince, the most complex chapter in the book. Machiavelli presents Borgia as both a model to follow and a warning about the limits of political calculation. Owning the banned book that never went away. When The Prince was published in 1532, 5 years after Machiavelli's death, it caused immediate controversy. The Catholic Church banned it. Protestant reformers condemned it. Political theorists rejected it. Yet something remarkable happened. Rulers kept reading it. Catherine de' Medici supposedly kept a copy at her bedside. Napoleon annotated his personal edition. Even Thomas Cromwell, Henry VIII's chief minister, was rumored to follow Machiavellian principles. The book survived because it worked. Modern Machiavellians. Today's world leaders, whether they admit it or not, operate on Machiavellian principles. Vladimir Putin's rise to power reads like a case study from The Prince, eliminating rivals, controlling information, projecting strength while avoiding direct confrontation with superior forces. Xi Jinping's consolidation of power in China followed classic Machiavellian tactics: patience, strategic timing, and the gradual elimination of opposition while maintaining popular support through economic growth. Even democratic leaders use these principles. Angela Merkel's 16-year tenure as German chancellor demonstrated Machiavellian patience and strategic thinking. She waited for opponents to make mistakes, built coalitions carefully, and projected stability while adapting to changing circumstances. The misunderstood morality. Here's what critics miss about Machiavelli. He wasn't advocating for evil. He was trying to prevent it. In his view, weak rulers who couldn't maintain order created conditions for chaos, war, and suffering. Sometimes, he argued, a little controlled brutality prevents massive uncontrolled violence. Machiavelli lived through the Italian Wars, a devastating period when foreign powers carved up Italy because its rulers were too virtuous, divided, or weak to resist effectively. He saw firsthand how moral idealism could lead to national destruction. His famous phrase, "the end justifies the means," was never meant as a blanket endorsement of cruelty. It was a recognition that leaders sometimes face impossible choices where all options cause harm, and their job is to choose the option that causes the least. Niccolò Machiavelli didn't teach the world to lie. He taught it to see clearly. His enduring influence comes not from promoting evil, but from refusing to ignore reality in favor of comfortable illusions. The prince remains relevant because human nature hasn't changed. Power still corrupts, fear still motivates, and appearances still matter more than reality in politics. Every modern scandal, from Watergate to foreign election interference, follows patterns Machiavelli identified 5 centuries ago. The man who never ruled gave rulers their most honest mirror. Whether that makes him history's greatest political scientist or its most dangerous teacher depends on whether you believe knowledge itself can be evil or whether ignorance of power's true nature is the greater danger. His legacy isn't the corruption of politics. It's the recognition that politics was always corrupt, and that admitting this truth is the first step toward managing it responsibly.